So here we are at the Holyoke Police Department Community Center located on Ray Street, and we are going to have a conversation about the services and everything that happens in this center, so the public in the city of Holyoke get to know more about the activities Holyoke Police Department and other organizations in partnership and collaboration are doing for the benefit of the city of Holyoke. So first of all, thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing us to have this time and conversation with all of you. I would like to start with some introductions. So starting on my left, if we can go all around, so you can introduce yourself, please.
Hi, my name is Detective Dorothy Beeben. I work with the Holyoke Police Community Center for the Holyoke Police Department.
My name is Harvey McNulty. I'm a recovery coach with BHN, and I also work here at the Holyoke Police Community Center as well.
My name is Alberto Cotto. I also work with the community policing, and I'm a recovery coach.
Harrison Corrales, work with BHN as a recovery coach, also in partnership with the Holyoke Police Community Center.
My name is Anthony John Louis. I'm a deputy sheriff from the Hamden County Sheriff Department. I work here at the Holyoke Police Community Center.
My name is Detective Joe Miterio, Holyoke Police Department, and narcotics intervention, and I work here at the Holyoke Police Community Center.
I'm Richard Winning. I am the co-response supervisor for BHN and work out of the Holyoke Community Center, and am responsible for Hamden County's police and co-response.
Good afternoon, Detective Brian Summers. I am the crisis intervention detective out of the community center.
David Pratt, I'm the Chief of Police, Holyoke Police Department.
Joshua García, Mayor, City of Holyoke.
Let's start by talking about the center. The center has been active for some years now, and it may be surprising for some people to just learn now that it's here and it's providing so many services. So I don't know who would like to give a little bit of explanations of what the center does. What is the main goal and the services that are available for the public?
I'll go ahead and start. So we started this initiative in May of 2019 with multiple federal COSAP grants. And that allowed us to create this space here and allowed us to spread some money around and work with BHN, Behavioral Health Network, which brought in some very important recovery coaches and a whole crisis clinician team with counselors and caseworkers. So the idea is to take that proactive approach to the community in regards to people suffering from substance use disorder. So for example, if there's an overdose that occurs in the community, we would either respond with recovery coaches and ourselves with that outreach perspective and mindset to bring the services to that individual. And then we also work with families and friends of those suffering from substance use disorder. So we kind of take that proactive approach to the community and kind of give them all the resources and options available to them if they seek to get some help.
In addition, if I may, we also go out to the community and we kind of go around and drive around, and if we see somebody who is struggling and who's sitting in an alley and who may be in need of assistance or any referrals, we'll provide them with referrals. So if they're looking for shelter, we have resources for that, and we'll give them the resources, and we invite them. We say, come down here to Ray Street. We can connect you with a recovery coach, or we can provide you with shelter information, and help you make phone calls to, get them out of that area and get them into a better place. So it's definitely very helpful.
I'd also add that the clinical section part of this is that most of the time substance use goes hand in hand with mental illness. Like there's two parts to every story, and oftentimes mental illness leads to substance use, or you attempt to use substances in order to treat the symptoms of your mental illness. So we work very closely with the substance use officers because We want to make sure that we're treating the whole problem, not just a piece of the problem. Like if you cure the substance use piece, but they've still got the underlying mental health issues, they're going to return to using substances. That's a guaranteed outcome. But if we can help them solve both of those problems at the same time, it just leads to a much better outcome for the community and for the individuals themselves.
Listening to this brings me a perspective of how much of interconnection between the providers, in this case BHN, are supporting the efforts of the police department to assist people struggling with substance use. How much of the training on identifying situations like this becomes of essence for a police officer responding to a call and identifying this is something that calls for the attention of a clinician or some assistance additional to following the urgency of the call that happened? What is the way the training happens for these goals?
That's probably going to come to me. So we engage in multiple ways, BHN does with the police departments. The first level of that is with our CIT and TTAC programs. So we go in and physically do a 40-hour training with officers in order to help them identify what issues are at play, whether that's substance, whether that's mental health, how to respond to those things. We provide them with like real hands-on learning experiences where like we'll have them wear like headphones where it's got voices talking in the background, and then we'll try to have a conversation with you so that you understand how it feels physically to be inundated by other sounds, but not being able to differentiate what the person in front of you is saying from what the situation is that's going on currently. The other part of that is that we then, once we've dealt with kind of like the trainings of the officers, is then we then hit these things with multiple levels of response. So we have the recovery coaches who work hand in hand with the officers who are going out there and physically responding in the moment. And we have people like myself who do the co-response where like if it's not substance-based, we know it's mental health-based. So we're having us going out with the officers to help de-escalate situations. And by simply being present, simply being part of that process, the officers we work with get to see the use of skills and tactics that we have trainings in, and they begin to incorporate them. Holyoke has bought in fully to this type of program, and we've seen incredible growth from their officers where they utilize much more compassionate response where you would expect more of a hard response because of the situation. And it's just leading to much greater and more caring outcomes for the individuals we're serving.
I'm curious if there has been any situation during your experience providing the services where you have seen a story or a situation where someone has received all the benefits of these services available to them and seeing them turning around and getting into a positive outcome thanks to these opportunities.
Good afternoon, everybody. Harrison Corrales. Indeed, we do have that positive result in two individuals. We've been working with them. Practically ground zero. Homeless people struggling in the community, and they have decided themselves, right, to follow the simple rule, right? Don't step out of the line, focus on yourself, we got you. So we do have two individuals that have achieved certain state of mind, right, I think, and they are working on themselves. We got one who's working out of Greenfield area, and the other one just got his license, bought his car, have an interview tomorrow with Amazon. So they are the proof, right? If the individual themselves, right, decide to step, and make the effort to give themselves a chance, they can achieve a better result that they're living in the moment, you know.
I could speak to that a little as well. When I was a captain, before I became chief, I would track the results of the two detectives that were working here as they worked directly for me. And yes, there's a lot of, you know, there's some success stories like that you can follow all the way to the end. And then we were noticing a very positive trend with individuals who, prior to interacting with this office, were all over our police log for minor, you know, trespassing and shoplifting and things that are associated with drug addiction, some minor possession charges as well. And then I was noticing a pattern of, once they started having interactions with this office and these officers and the clinicians, that those people seem to not go away, but sort of disappear off our police log going forward. And it was because of the continued outreach that they were receiving, I believe, from here. Now, that doesn't mean every single person. You know, there were people still that would show up on the log. But you know, if I used to use a rough number of about 30 or 40 people, I would see 25 out of 30 seem to disappear. And you know, the 5 reoccurring would still reoccur, but it was such a positive trend. And although that's not 100% success story for all of those people, there was a little success that they were no longer interacting with the criminal justice system, at least in Holyoke, as active. Now, some of those people may have moved to another community or went somewhere else and maybe continued. We didn't see it, but I saw that as a very positive thing for the Holyoke Police Department, to be dealing less with those minor crimes and trying to get these people help. So it just kind of backed up that philosophy of that continued outreach was, in my opinion, making a difference.
Can I add something for me is I find very important is the stigma, right? That's still very deep in our roots, especially in the Puerto Rican community, because we offering the help, but I'm next to a police officer, right? And in my culture, right, snitching is a big thing, right? So the result, right, in these two individuals that today are doing very good is because they have brought down to that stigma, now because it's the police community center, they come here freely, and they know that even if from the police, the approach is not on that side, it's on a professional side, you know, friendly, with compassion, no background check, no questions about your criminal record. No, it is open to help you, no matter what you do the effort, right? In this office, my team, my family, how show up that respect, you know, for me, right, myself, and my clients too, right? So it is a big, it's a big issue still in the community, right? That they have to start educating themselves and collaborate and use, right, the resources, right? The police of Holyoke have to understand that we don't have to lock down a person, right? Because it's not the answer, right? Health, mental health goes together. So that's why, you know, it is important that not because it's a Holyoke Police Community Center, the person can feel free, or the family member, to knock the door, make a call, and we'll answer, you know, in the approach or help the person, you know, not asking questions of police, you know.
And I'm glad that you bring this point, because I think one aspect that makes even more meaningful the services you are providing in this community center is that there is a culturally sensitive approach to the realities of the society and the community in Holyoke that is in almost a balance of 50% Hispanic. And how important it is to meet the requirements of language, cultural representation, and ways to engage with these community members in their terms that they can understand what is available to them and what is being offered. So I completely hear and appreciate that approach that you're mentioning, because I think it's important when culturally there has been this trust and disengagement, unfortunately, with members of the community and the police as a team to bring together a partnership to improve the living conditions in the city. And you mentioned someone can come in here and ask for help. So that leads to my next question. How does a regular day look like in the community center for all of you in your daily activities of what you can share that is happening?
Healthy recovery coach. Some days, I think it really depends on the day and what's going on in the community. For myself, sometimes I'll do some outreach within the community over by McDonald's, the library. Very much so right now. What was sparking into my mind really is I get to work with CHD, and actually in the process actively of trying to collaborate BHN and CHD together to create a hub of streamlined service, whether a recovery be in a section, whether a recovery be in a hospital, whether a recovery just be out in the street, that they can get the different levels of care that they need. And what happens is I'm able to make that available to each of the recoveries that I work directly with, or even Harrison, or we'll work together to do whatever it is to maximize the amount of services that are available. So what it starts to look like in a day is me, I'm in recovery myself. And so not just from a psychological but emotional standpoint, I can actually be able to convey and work with the recovery and seeing in terms of what they need. So sometimes, depending upon if some days I'll get through, 3 recoveries that may need a CSS level of care, a centralized stabilization service, and depending upon where that is for some recoveries, it could be a longer process, but being able to utilize the resources and put them all together, rather than a recovery waiting for, to get into a CSS for 3 or 4 days, we understand that the window is small and that they want to treat, a lot of recoveries want the treatment. And the worry for most recoveries is being able to have access to that treatment quickly. And so we try to narrow the gap in terms of the timing and be able to readily accessibly give that to them on a daily basis. And sometimes that process can be a little bit longer than we would like, but ultimately we work together as a team, I think, rather quickly to be able to get them that streamlined service.
Anyone would like to add on the daily activities?
Sure. As far as the mental health side that Mr. Wynn and I deal with, every day from the second I come in, the first thing I do is I start off by pulling up every report for the hours that I was not here. And then from there on, we come down here, we go to crisis mental health calls and respond to anything that's in action as we are here while we're working. And then the ones that we were not here for, we reach out via phone, via knocking on the door, talk to those individuals. We are not happy unless we 100% talk to the individual that was having a mental health issue and talk to them and get them the services that they need, that they require, or that they are interested in. Is there anything else?
And sometimes people aren't ready for treatment, they aren't ready for services. So it's not like we stop at that first contact. Sometimes it takes 5-6 times where we go out over 3 to 5 months, where eventually on that 5th month the person goes, you know what, things really aren't getting better. Like, I thought they'd get better if I just stuck with it. It's not working, I need help now. It's making sure that the people get the services they need, but done so in a compassionate way. If I just force services on you, you're not going to take it, you're not going to want it. But if we wait until you're ready and we work within your time frame, then you're going to get what you need when you need it and when you want it.
And to touch on like what Harrison said is sometimes they're nervous with me being there, But as time goes on, the more times I talk to them, they become comfortable and they open up to me, and I'm able to help Mr. Winning get those services that they require.
And to kind of piggyback off what you said, what Joe and I do as well is when we come in to work, we'll pull up the reports. So if there are overdose reports, we'll pull those, we'll bring them down, we'll sit down with one of the recovery coaches and we'll consult each case. And if it's a address in Holyoke, we'll go out with our pamphlets, with our resources, and we'll go and we'll speak with the individual and we'll say, we understand you had a medical incident and this is what we do and it's what we can help you with. So, and we continue to try if they're not there. So phone calls and door knocking is definitely, I think, very important because it kind of, it introduces us and lets them know that we're there because we care, because we want to help you, because we want you to avoid that future overdose again. We don't want that. We will leave Narcan with them. We will, provide them with those essential things so that, or their family members, so that they can avoid future overdoses.
And if the overdose, happen outside of Holyoke,
Yep.
we have a system, SAMS, the Hamden County Sheriff create,
Yep.
they call critical incident management system. We put that in the system, and then the AISS have a team there automatically see that individual, and then they do the follow-up anywhere in Hamden County.
Yep.
And then we take care of the one in Holyoke, but that team take care of the one outside of the county. Because a lot of people come to Holyoke to use, they not,
We don't live here.
Yeah.
And we do it in all plain clothes. So we're in plain clothes. We're like this when we go out,
Yes.
and do a follow-up. So we're not in uniform. We look like anybody else.
They don't let me
We don't. So because the uniform may be intimidating to some people, and we don't want that. We want to say, yeah, we're a police officer with BHN in collaboration or mental health crisis, and we're here to help you, and you are our focus, and if the family needs support, we're there for them as well. So it's sometimes meetings can take up to 2 or 3 hours sitting down with a family members and having a discussion and a plan for their future, but every single minute is worth it. So
And we reach out to people from other towns, other cities who had an issue while they were in Holyoke. It might have had either a drug issue or a mental health issue in even other states, and we still contact those individuals and try to get them set up on our resources that they can have to get help with their problems and their issues that they have going on.
We're putting them in contact with their local, whatever their local emergency services are. We want to make sure that even if you come here and you have one of those bad situations that happens in the city, we want to make sure that you're not just going back out into the world alone, that everyone is deserving of help. So we're not just going to stop with what's here.
I was gonna say, and if somebody needs like a bed and it's in Worcester or wherever the case may be, we'll provide transportation. I was listening to Harrison, right, where he was saying about stigma with the police, right? Because that's big. People see the police and be like, no, I'm not gonna work with them. You know what I'm saying? Even me, when I first came here, I can honestly tell you, they was like, so you're gonna work with these police? I'm like, oh, no, I can't work with them. Go around with these people. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm from the streets, right? I'm born and raised out here, right? I'm a recovering addict myself. I've been in this field for 23 years, you know what I'm saying? To help improve the quality of people's lives, right? I am a productive member of our community, right? So they look at me and they're like, if Kodo did it, I can do it. You know what I'm saying? I can give you a perfect example. So we do house visits, me, Ernst, and Joy. So we work the night shift, right? One day we're out on the block, right? We're getting ready to knock on the door. Somebody comes up to me and says, hey, can I get 2 bags of dope? I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? I pointed at Joey's gun. I said, do you see that? The dude didn't know what to do, right? And Joey said, talk to the recovery coach, right? And so we was able to work with him. You know what I'm saying? And the reason I say that is because they're in plain clothes. So the guy didn't even know. You know what I'm saying? But it is a big stigma. You know what I'm saying? Still, when they see us, and once they get to meet us, right? Because I've been saying this for a minute now. There's no team like this, right? We got a little bit of everybody, right? You know what I'm saying? I work in human services, right, for 23 years, like I said. I work in Springfield, another job. There's not a team like this, right? We do testing and counseling, and we work in substance abuse, but here we got a little bit of everything. You know what I mean? If I can't help you, maybe Richard can help you, Dorothy can help you, somebody else. You know what I'm saying? I think this is a great team, actually. Yeah.
I'll add just one more thing about the stigma piece, just because I think it's important to throw it out there. A big stigma with the police, especially with mental health, is that it's always ended up with me going to the hospital. You know what I mean? That was something that's been a big, huge thing for a lot of. The goal of what co-response is to keep it as limited as possible. Like, we don't want you to go to the hospital. Obviously, you're unsafe to yourself, you're unsafe to others. That will be the result in those moments. But do not be afraid to call if you're experiencing mental health issues, because the goal isn't to send you somewhere. The goal is to get you services. The goal is to keep you at home, to keep you with your family. That's the goal of what we're doing. The fear that I'm going to have to do things involuntarily, like, sometimes that happens, but it's not all the time. And I'd say more often than not, people are staying in the community. People are able to stay home. We get them the services they need, and they're able to move forward. So I think that's another big stigma that comes from, like, the fear of police coming out as far as mental health goes, and I want to kind of work with these guys around that stigma and just pass that.
I think the Holyoke Police Department has turned the corner there, where, I know exactly what Richard's talking about. Go back several years before anything like this existed. If you're a police officer on the street and you're dealing with a mental health crisis, you're just trying to do what you can do to just move. And the answer was always send them to the hospital. Send them to the hospital. We didn't know anything else. But I think our people now know that this is a better approach. Even all our officers, and through just, for lack of a better way of saying it, on-the-job training for some of them, they know this is a resource for them, the officer, to call this group and interact, and then they see how it works too. So they're getting firsthand how this is a much better approach. So I hear it all the time on the radio. They can all attest to it. Is Brian working? I say, no, this one work, because they want them to come, right? Is Dorothy in? I think we got a call while you were in here, right? So they it started out where the cops were, what are those guys doing down there on Ray Street? Nobody knew. Now they can't stop calling them, right? So I think that we have become educated as a police department to the success of what's going on here.
And another thing that I can say is that the community is starting to know, because they will go to the police station and ask for help. That is like unheard of.
Yeah.
So somebody will walk in the police station and say, listen, I need a detox. They'll call Joey, they'll call Ern, Joey will call me and say, look, we need a detox. You know what I'm saying? And we'll do the transportation piece. How can I say? So I'm a recovering addict, right? Like I said, and I always mention that because some people look at you and they're like, if you haven't gone what I've been through, you can't help me. And I thought that's another stigma. I'm like, no, you know what I'm saying? Just because if I have cancer, and the doctor, he went to school, you know what I'm saying, for that. And it doesn't mean, what you mean to tell me that he has to have cancer to help me? No. That's a good analogy. You know what I'm saying? So addicts are like that. You know what I'm saying? They rather prefer to work with addicts. And I'm kind of glad, because nowadays, recovery coaches and stuff like that, they work in the field. Most of them are recovering addicts. You know what I mean? But I still try to take that out their mentality. You know what I mean? Because it takes, man, a village, you know what I'm saying, to help somebody out. And I believe as a community, if we all get together, we can help each other one out. You know what I'm saying?
One more thing. The good thing about this team is when you respond to those calls, you don't have to rush the individual to respond to another one. we take your time, treat that person with care and kindness. And like the patrol guys, if they respond to a call, they have to get quick information and then to get ready for next call because the city's awake and busy. So our team, with that person, you're gonna get 100% of our attention and then to get you to where you want to go.
I think one of the biggest things too is like they were talking about is as someone, I've been sober now for a little over 2 years, and I got sober in jail, and I understand in my experience how hard that was and not having this available. And I'm from Boston, and there's a plethora of resources that get thrown out that way, and I've never seen anything like this. I mean, you'll get services such as Tapestry and that sort of thing, but the Boston police, they don't have the tools at their disposal to be able to do anything like this interpersonal, where I've seen firsthand how people in the community respond, especially to Dorothy or to Ernest, and they're like, hey, can I get help with this? Or hey, can I get help with that? And I know when I was first getting sober, I wasn't talking to no Boston cop. I can assure you right now that I was running down the street, letting my guys know, hey, look, vanish now, and that's the thing is we want to be able to give back in that way, and how important fundamentally it is, and to be able to help them with placement, in kind of close that gap of, well, I want to go to treatment, I want to go to detox or CSS, but I'm afraid that it's going to fall through. I'm not going to be able to get to a halfway house. I don't know where I'm going to live afterwards. And being able to close that gap between BHN with CHD and the Holyoke Police Department and the section, and be able to bring an affront team, a response team to that. Just recently, I've been able to go up to the section and help 2 clients that were high level of care, receive medical treatment, receive housing, also receive the proper treatment and protocol in place for them to go through the continuum of treatment regarding recovery. And that's huge because even the staff of the section was like, I've never seen anything like this. Where did this come from? To see the relief come off of the recovery's face, to watch the shoulders relax, the smile come on their face, it's huge.
Oh, it is huge.
And I think that, in itself is what we do here is amazing. And, and I'm just grateful I get to be a part of the process and helping them be able to, really get what it is that they need. BHN is also, opening up another service to single moms so that they can rehabilitate that service with DCF and being able to cultivate that relationship again with parents, single parents and children. Because it's imperative we understand the need for wanting to be able to, get reacclimated back into the community and redeveloping those relationships that are so meaningful, one by one. And I think that was, instrumental in some of the response work we've been able to do. And we take what we do to heart. It's not just, it's not about, oh, well, I work from 8 to 4. No, like, if I have to, I stay later. Don't care. We want to make sure that they're getting the help and not being left on the street unaided.
To piggyback on what he just said, so when we out there looking, talking to people, go in the alley, Joey and I, work together sometimes, and then we know all the spots, and then if we can go there, our presence stops someone from what they're doing, and then refer them to the recovery coach. And sometimes recovery coach cannot find a bed. That's one big issue. That person willing to go. We've been hunting that person for months, offering the services, and then the day they flag us down, say we're ready to go, and then no bed available. So now we feel bad. If we could get at least a place we can put that person for that night, so the person don't go back and use it, and on next morning, just to stay there overnight until a bed available, that would be huge for this group, this team. So we know, after, that person gonna have a good night's sleep, and then when we come in the morning, or when the first person showed up, follow up, leave a sticky note on the desk, and then follow up with that person, get that person to where they want it, instead of disappear.
So we have a place at BHN, which is called the living room, but that only holds like 8 people. You know what I'm saying? Once that's full, there's nowhere to bring people to. But one thing is, this winter we did open up warming centers. You know what I'm saying? And they was very grateful that we opened up those places because it was very cold that night, and we passed out, backpacks with hoodies, blankets, socks, toothpaste, toothbrush, the whole shebang, that they need. And they was real grateful when we used to give them those backpacks. A matter of fact, I remember when I first started, we had coats and everything here. I give somebody a coat, they're like, what? I make sure I take the ticket off and go sell it. Yeah. You know what we do. But honestly, the people that we have helped and stay in contact with us, they're very grateful.
Yeah, that's true. So, one of the things is that since Harvey mentioned, we don't work 8 to 4.
Oh, no, we work 24
Saturday,
hours.
Sunday, I have a call, Bobby, wait for me. Boom, wait for me in McDonald's because recovery don't take time off, right? This disease, this sorrow don't take time off. So that connection, that empathy with the individual, right? Knowing him also that it's Saturday or Sunday, right? I take some time for myself. For me, it's huge, and for him too. Matter of fact, yesterday, I received a call from an individual that I tried to help, right? And I came Saturday, have a coffee with him, and I lost track of him. Boom! But guess what? He called me yesterday. He did it himself. He's in a detox in Boston. So that call, that attention, that day, right? On point. And I'm proud of him. Not me. I'm proud of him. And I'm proud of God that gave me the opportunity to be next to the phone, my work phone, that day at that moment.
I was gonna say something about that. And our business cards is our phone numbers from work. So I don't like carrying 2 phones. So the BHN phone, I have to call forward to my personal phone. So when they call either my personal phone or the work phone, it's gonna ring on this phone, and I pick up the call because we don't work 8 hours a day. We work 24 hours a day. And addicts never stop. You know what I mean? So we don't stop.
One thing that I listen, especially when the efforts of providing this attention and particularly one-on-one time with no rush, with no other intention than providing that time and support, but then comes short when resources are not available, and unfortunately there is no way to have control on that availability. What do you think could be some needs this center, this program could have added, and to consider, I don't know, ask for maybe more partnerships or maybe for more resources, something that maybe the city could get somehow involved and support in that capacity, allocating or repurposing some resources for these goals?
So one of the things I've been working on to address that issue is getting a coalition of directors of programs together at one table to create one seamless process. So that way we can adhere to the needs of a recovery. So say, for example, if you can't get into the CSS at the Hope Center, right? We can bring, there's a woman who's a lead intake coordinator for BHN. And what we try to do is create a hub of all the services that are available, so that way not just one provider can see, but all of the providers can see that's actually accurate And if they don't have a bed open at the Hope Center, we can get them over to Mira Vista, or we can get them another bed out in Worcester with AdCare and Community Health Link, or if there's not a bed available right away, at the Phoenix House or something of that nature. All of the program directors are then aware of what beds are available and what's not. And then also the nurses will be on board, the head charge nurses at these programs will be on board, because they have the capacity and the ability to give us real-time access to what beds are available and what are not. And so what we've been able to do is just put them all together at the table, and what we're going to continue to do is to work out what that process is going to look like. So that if someone does want to go to bed in one area and they can't get to it, we can provide transportation through Hope for Holyoke, or we can get them another out to another service. So that way that there's, it's virtually impossible for them to fail, right? Because the problem what we don't want is a recovery asking for help, and then they say, well, you gotta wait. Now, sometimes they will have to wait, but rather than waiting a day, let's break that down into 12 hours. Can you wait 12 hours? Because for an alcoholic and addict, it's minute by minute, hour by hour. And if I can help you walk through that process, minute by minute, hour by hour, I'm gonna do everything in the capability that we have to be able to do that, right? And so, in helping empower the recovery, just do what's in front of you. We'll get you to this place, and then we'll get you to this place. In fact, I have a recovery right now. Just got out of a section, high level of care, waiting to get into the Phoenix House. Bed's not available, so we were able to transition him into another program up in Northampton, where he's still able to get fed, he's still able to get his medical treatment, still able to get his other prognosis and treatment. And he's like, dude, this is awesome. Thank you. I feel secure. I'm able to be able to go into that next level of care with confidence and support.
And he's not homeless.
And he's not homeless.
So
and
he's not
off the
coming out of
street.
his hospital back into the community, and he's not homeless. He's going into another level of care, like Harvey said. So it's a process.
Right. Because that's the biggest issue I think that a lot of recoveries have, right? Is they go through this process, and then they complete the CSS, they put in the work, or they complete the halfway house, they put in the work. But what about housing? What about sober living? I also work, I'm in direct contact with the executive director over at Michael's house in Springfield and in the Christian Diaz Foundation. I went through one of their houses. So one of the things I try to do is if they don't want to go to a halfway house, maybe they get into a sober house. We get them reemployed back into the workforce, back into recovery. There's a multitude of avenues. There's not a one-size-fits-all treatment program for everyone. Some people like harm reduction. Some people like Alcoholics Anonymous. Some people want Narcotics Anonymous. There's a variety of things that can be implemented. Recovery is not a one-size-fits-all service, and we have to be conscientious of that and make sure that we're being able to meet recovery's needs fundamentally and with some versatility on either end. And when you're able to do that effectively and efficiently, and really taking the time to listen to what it is a recovery needs, I don't know what's best for a recovery. And at the end of the day, it's for me to listen acutely and to be able to meet their needs as they see fit, right? And I think that's why I love this team so much is everybody's got their own specialty of what they're good at, and we can bounce ideas off each other and work collaboratively to get their needs met.
As far as benefiting, I think in the city of Holyoke, we could benefit from, I think, and the community who's suffering would benefit from having one of those houses in the city directly, because we're utilizing Springfield, Northampton, we're utilizing all the other towns, right? But I think it'd be beneficial. We also, I think, sometimes come into the struggles of lack of detox beds. And and I think in our near future, we always have discussions about this. connecting with directors and asking for them to save us, just specifically for the Holyoke Police Community Center, like an emergency bed. So when we do have that individual who can't wait 24 hours to the next day for a bed, we can plug him or her into another detox bed, wherever it is in Western Mass. And we go all the way out to Worcester, so if it's AdCare or CHL, and that's something that, it takes a lot of work and kind of getting everybody in the same in the same, I guess, term, I guess, but that would be very beneficial for us, I think, too, because some days are good, some days, some days
so
there's
much.
some days
A place
there's 9
where
beds
somebody-
available, some days there's 0.
I think the
Somebody can
city,
stay.
the city will really benefit from a BHN living room
Like a living room.
type model in the city,
Yeah.
where it's meant for individuals that want treatment, but that so-called bed or facility is not available at the time, but they're able to stay at this location for the night for a few hours and transition into that other space.
Yeah.
I think the city of Holyoke would really, really benefit from a place like that.
And they also have wraparound services there too,
Yeah.
so it's not that like they're just going there
Yeah, to sleep.
for sleep.
No.
They're gonna get attention.
Yeah.
They may need help to get their
Yeah.
license, other things. But that's another
That's
story.
huge.
Yes.
Because so I work at the night shift, right, with these guys, right, from 5 to 11, and sometimes beds are gone, right, because everybody done took them in the morning. You know what I'm saying? So now here I am calling Harrison, yo, I want to send you this guy in the morning, call him because I couldn't find him a bed. So if we had a place like that they can stay a day or two, because it's not like a residential program that you're there for 6 months or whatever. We just need a placement for a day
Just a
or two.
holding.
Just like a holding, you know what I mean? That we could provide them, services while they're there and get them into a detox. I think it's huge.
I was gonna say, I think in the continuum, you usually have your detox, your CSS, your TSS. And the transitional stabilization services is reflective of a holding. And typically, if you have a larger space to be able to hold them more at a TSS level, it allows beds to open up more at the halfway house level, which is where a lot of halfway houses across the state, and even in the northeastern region. I've been in recovery in Boston, Maine, Portland, Maine, Las Vegas, Nevada, like all over the country. And one of the bigger issues that you see is usually between that transitional service level into the halfway house level. And so, because there's just not enough beds available. So for example, at Phoenix House, at the halfway house, there's only 2 beds that are available literally for high level of care, and then the rest are opened up for people who, are able-bodied and can walk around and do what they have to do. And that kind of clogs the hole a little bit, so to speak, right? And so then you have all these people who would like to move through the detox and the CSS level. Because the CSS usually can only obtain, depending upon, in varying institutions, 14 to 21 clients. And so from there, in a TSS level, you typically would need anywhere from 75 to 100 beds. So for example, TSS Tewksbury, out on the eastern part of the state, they're able to hold 125 beds. And then they're able to mobilize clients between approximately, within that given radius, about 12 halfway houses. And so, given the parameters and the functionality and the availability of those things and having them on a multitude of different levels can really help. And I think a TSS will be able to loosen up and create some of that availability, especially in this given area, and the centralization to where, addicts recover, as a recovering alcoholics and addicts tend to flow wherever they see that the drugs are available, and to be able to get them the help that they need and maximize that. You're able to then fight kind of fire with fire.
I guess, I don't know, Mayor, anything that comes to your mind when listening to this valuable services and opportunities to support through the available programs or available ways to provide it with resources that the city could offer at some point in time?
So I just want to, and thank you everybody for sharing all of this, and you're really contributing to the very purpose of why I wanted to do this, to get this message out there. I want folks to know that, you know, this already happened before I got into office, so I didn't create this. I can't take any credit for what's happening in front of me. However, I am very excited to see this level of collaboration happening within the borders of our municipality, because since I've grown up in this city, Holyoke's always been a place of hope, opportunity, and second, third, fourth chances until folks can get on their feet and back into a stable state. And so here I am now as mayor in this position, a very fortunate position to continue to support the activities we're seeing around this table, and also to continue to proactively plan and address some of the gaps that we've heard today around having maybe as a, what'd you call it, a living room?
Yeah,
The living room.
I want to learn more about that. I know folks would often say having some sort of homeless sheltering arrangement within the city, what that would look like, what resources can we leverage to make that happen, and so forth. What we're hearing or what we're seeing with this group out of this office is an alternative method to traditional policing. And I was very happy to hear the statements about the stigma, because that is very true. And there are folks in our community wondering how such a collaboration can happen with the police department when there's no trust with our local police. And, you know, I want folks in our community to know that that's not true. I don't think at all that our community does not trust the police. I think that largely because for some time this level of collaboration has been happening, and I think because of that it's been curving that perception. And I'm so happy to hear that, because I'm, you know, when I was knocking on doors in the primaries, and I tell the chief this story all the time, the strategy was to only knock in downtown wards 1 and 2. That was the strategy. Don't knock. This was when there were 6, 7 candidates. And so I did, and that's our most vulnerable population. And I never heard one time from anybody that our residents felt like they couldn't trust the police at all, but instead wanted to see a better collaboration and actually a little bit more of a police presence. But folks understand that there's this partnership happening, looking out and taking interest in trying to offer wraparound services to both the sick and the sinner. And Holyoke's a place, if you're caught up in activities happening in our community where you're trying to get out, you know, we have stuff for that too. So, you know, what I wanted to accomplish here was to communicate to the public what's happening in this space, that there are proactive measures happening, that, you know, that there can be a collaboration between our mental health organizations and other, we got recovery coaches and other organizations. There can be a collaboration with local police outside of the traditional thinking of how we feel about police in general. And that we're gonna, you know, I want to make sure that as long as I'm in this position, as long as the people elect me, I can do what I can to support what's happening here. There are a mix of resources currently at play that's supporting the activities happening out of this office. It's a partnership with the City of Holyoke through a combination of be it grants and appropriation, community development block grant funds. And there are other conversations happening in different spaces in trying to think of, you know, the homeless sheltering type arrangement. You know, I've learned a lot through the pop-up shelters, there were some things that, through that experience, things that we learned, and has caused us, through those discussions, to pivot a little bit in some areas to get closer to some sort of resolution. And I feel confident that as long as we keep that in the forefront as a priority, that hopefully something is going to come to light soon, sometime in the near future. But it's an honor for me to be here in front of you and listen to the stories and the work that you're doing. And for as long as I'm here, just know that you have a partner at City Hall to support the work that you're doing, so that we can get the help that the people in our community, that they need. I know some folks, and I grew up in South Holyoke, and I've seen many friends go down a very different path. I know friends with families and relatives, and you hear those stories, and even close personal friends. And I know it's when you said minute by minute, hour, that is so true. And to know that we have this kind of partnership here that is able to respond at a moment's notice, to save a life, that's critical. So in the grand scheme of it all, that's what we're working on here in the city of Holyoke. That's what I'm going to be supporting, and hope that I can have community support as well, to be patient and understand the population that we're dealing with. And any way that folks can contribute and help and support these activities, it goes a long way when the community is standing behind you in support of what we're dealing with here within the borders of our community. So I don't know if anybody else had anything to add. Chief, detectives,
I would like
covering
to,
coaches.
Yeah, I would like to address the community, right? On the side, for me it's been a pleasure. Had the opportunity, right? See my life, because I'm in recovery too. See the flip that my life has made, because I made the decision to follow the line and not step out of the line. Right? A simple law. You step out of the line, you're gonna have kind of trouble, right? And had the opportunity to serve the community of Holyoke with the law enforcement and mental health clinician, and seeing, right, the response and the respect that they show to the team is huge, right? But it's more for the community, right? The doors are open, our phones are open. Just utilize the services that the community have, because back in the days, many people have suffered and lost their life, right? Loved ones, because we did not trust, because maybe it was the law enforcement, right? So, as part of the team, I'm glad that the service is here and it's for them, right? Just step up, right? And your loved one, are having any issue with substance abuse, alcohol, or the family member needs some information.
Yeah, that's another thing, yeah.
You can call, right? Because the proper information is what we need.
And I wanted to ask the chief, after listening the efforts, the work, the impact this work is providing to the community in Holyoke, and the uniqueness of a program like this, how does that make you feel as the leader of the police in the city of Holyoke, and also as someone who has expressed multiple times the commitment to be of service and to help the community with multiple opportunities for recovery and not necessarily the punitive ones?
Right, 100%. I'm just so thankful that we have these services. As the chief here in Holyoke, I'm extremely proud of this office and the work they do every day. It's you know, having been in policing, well, unfortunately as long as I have, showing my age.
Since '84.
Well, let's not go that far. I was still in high school in '84. Anyway, you know, I think it's great that we have these resources now as part of our tools in policing to help not only the people suffering from addiction and mental health, but also to help the police officers service the community better. It's huge. The collaborations they're talking about, I feel that on the street as well, you know, and I think that I'm just so proud that the Holyoke Police Department is so far ahead of the curve of the rest of you know, our surrounding communities that have started to jump on board with this concept. And, you know, we kind of get a little chuckle when we see one pop up that they're starting to do this, and we're like, oh, we've been doing that for 3 years, you know. So I feel like really like we're the model, you know. And it was impressive to hear you say like Boston, you know, it's a big PD. They got a lot of resources, right? And you've never seen anything like this there. So that makes me extremely proud of the Holyoke Police Department, the city of Holyoke, the mayor's, you know, supportive of this as well. And we just want to attack this addiction problem on all levels. We want to give services, wraparound services, because we have them now. It's so, you know, such a different thing that, you know, we just never had before. And it's just a really good feeling as the head of the organization to know that I have this as part of my response. And we're just thankful to each and every one of these and all our partners, the sheriff, you know, BHN, the recovery coaches, you guys, I can't say enough, and the mayor and city hall, and we just got to keep this going. And, you know, I actually was asked today, just today, if I could have anything, you know, if I had my wish list of things. And I said I would want more people so I could expand this, because we are a very busy police department, as everyone knows, and the officers I have doing that work don't have the time, as they talked about, to stop and give that one-on-one attention. Every officer extra I can get, I can add more and more services, and I think that's, you know, those extra things that the officers sometimes in the cruisers don't have time to do. To have these type of services out there that they can is just, it's just huge.
So the Holyoke Police Community Center is located on Ray Street in the second level of the canals, 208 Ray Street, second floor, suite 201. And how can people get more information and get in communication with the center if they need any type of assistance?
Our information is also on the Holyoke Police Department website. So anyone can go in there and retrieve the information, our address, the phone numbers, to the office. The offices, if someone needs assistance, they can call the main police department number and ask, and they will get in contact with us directly, or walk down to the station if they're close. We'll meet them there. So those are the best ways. Someone will always be here to help, though.
Correct. I think it's important that people know too that the police department just up the street is well aware of them. This isn't some substation we don't know anything about. They're all interactive. These officers are in and out of the station, and other officers, you know, are well aware of what's going on down here. So if a call is placed or someone walks into the station there, I guarantee you they're going to direct them down here and help them get here if need be. Mm-hmm. So it's a well known to our community, the police community. So all people have to do is reach out and ask, and we'll tell them.
Yep.
Well, I want to personally thank all of you, recovery coaches, officers, detectives, chief, mayor, for your service, the work and the impact, the positive impact you are giving to the community in the city of Holyoke, and also very thankful for your time to talk today and share part of your work and your mission on this. I hope this it becomes helpful for the people to know that you are here, and that if they need help, they can reach out to you anytime.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for doing this.